As we approach the halfway mark of 2024, it's time to look back or look forward to some of the additions that the theme park chains around the world have made for their parks. The goal of this today is to decide which theme park chain made the best 2024 coaster investments. So yes, we will be focusing solely on the roller coasters here. So let's get into it with Six Flags. I was worried about Six Flags for a long time with Salim Basool taking over. It appears some things have stabilized slightly, and now we have the merger with Cedar Fair coming up at some point, hopefully soon, that will dramatically change the theme park world. But for now, we're going to keep Six Flags and Cedar Fair separate. This year, Six Flags is scheduled to open 3 new roller coasters across their parks. Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Great Adventure is probably the best of the bunch. This will be the world's second Vekoma Super Boomerang, which is basically their next generation boomerang, and it looks to have some fun maneuvers. This includes a top speed of 59 miles an hour and 2 inversions, though you'll take this forwards and backwards. Is this an original layout? Well, technically no. Cloud Shuttle opened at Fantawild Wonderland in China last year, but the amount of people that know that this is a clone of a coaster in China, never mind the amount of people that have actually ridden both, is very, very small. For that reason, I don't see a huge problem here. Now, let's look at the other additions for Six Flags in 2024. Six Flags Great Escape is finally getting another roller coaster in the form of Bobcat. This family thrill ride will be built by the Gravity Group. It'll feature 1,400 feet of track, a 55-foot height, a 40-mile-an-hour top speed, and some nice turns and airtime moments. If this ride opens in 2025 instead of 2024, which it doesn't look like it will, but if it did, it would be 20 years between coaster editions for Great Escape. That's terrible. Six Flags Over Georgia has gone 6 years between major coaster editions, but Georgia Surfer is going to change that. This is the world's first intimate ultra surf coaster, so we really don't know how it's going to ride. I'm really intrigued by it though. Think if a Mack Rides Power Splash and an Intamin Half Pipe had a child, you would get the Intamin Ultra Surf. The half pipes are seen as fun coasters on a small plot of land, and the same can kind of be said for the Mack Rides Power Splash. So if you take the best of both worlds, maybe you get a better experience with the Ultra Surf. Just a few years after Aquaman Power Wave opened at Six Flags Over Texas, we're getting a pretty similar addition at another park in the Six Flags chain. So Six Flags, they got a prototype, they got a clone, and they got a family thrill ride for a park that desperately needed it. There's no true standout coaster, but there's multiple solid additions. I'm gonna put them in A tier. Maybe that's a little high for some, but I like what I'm seeing here. Cedar Fair's 2024 slate is an interesting one. Dorney Park in Pennsylvania got their first coaster in a little bit, and it's Iron Menace, a B&M dive coaster. I think this is a very solid addition to a park like Great Escape in the Six Flags chain that really needed a new addition. Is this a world beater? Well, no, but in 2,100 feet of track, it goes 64 miles an hour, has a 95-degree drop, and 4 inversions. They really fit a lot into not very much track. Iron Menace looks good, but a ride that looks great is Top Thrill 2 at Cedar Point. As most of you know, Top Thrill Dragster originally opened at Cedar Point as an Intamin Strata coaster. This opened in 2003, but after an accident a few years ago and various technical problems along the way, Cedar Point thought that they needed to change something. That change came in the form of changing Top Thrill Dragster into Top Thrill 2, which included adding a swing launch sequence with LSMs instead of hydraulics and adding a massive 400-foot spike. It makes it so the initial launch isn't as powerful, but from the reviews I've seen, people appreciate the longer nature of this experience. Top Thrill Dragster was short but sweet, and it was a rush, but it was very, very short. Top Thrill 2 has some more length to it. All the changes look to be very, very positive, and I really hope that this coaster, as it's manufactured now by Zamperla, is reliable. This is definitely a prototype, and Zamperla has never done anything like it. So I hope for their sake and for Cedar Point's sake that it works out well. When I factor in the tier list here, I'm going to assume that the changes are successful for Top Thrill 2 and that it's reliable. But Cedar Fair also had 2 other minor coaster additions this year. These are kids coasters. One is going to Knott's Berry Farm. This is Snoopy's Tender Paw Twister coaster. It's another coaster by Zamperla, just a bit smaller than Top Thrill 2 obviously. And in fact, it's the same ride as Daddy Pig's coaster from Peppa Pig Theme Park. This looks like a nice kids coaster addition to Camp Snoopy, and it's replacing the old kiddie coaster Timberline Twister. I had a chance to ride this a few years ago, and it wasn't the most comfortable, but there were some weird pops of airtime, so maybe some kids will miss that, I don't know. But I think this is a good addition to Knott's Berry Farm in general. Then Kings Island gets Snoopy's Soapbox Racers, which just opened, and it has 75 feet of height and a 37-mile-an-hour top speed. Nothing too crazy, but a very solid family-friendly addition. In general, Cedar Fair did really good here. I'm going to slide them all the way up to S tier. Maybe that's a bit too high for some, but between the two kids coasters, Iron Menace, and Top Thrill 2, I think there's a lot of good stuff here. This next one will be pretty quick. Disney did not add a single roller coaster for the 2024 season. This is okay because they're doing some other things and they just added an excellent looking area in Tokyo. But with the no coasters, I have to put them in D tier. Remember, we're talking solely about the roller coasters here, so in that regard, Disney was outclassed in 2024. Let's go to Disney's main competitor, Universal Studios. Universal, if I do this video again next year, will get an S tier grade for Epic Universe alone. For this year, their one edition is going to be in Japan, and it's going to be called Minecart Madness, which is a Donkey Kong themed coaster, where the ride is designed to look like it's jumping the track. This boom coaster design is going to be brand new, and I'm thrilled to see what Universal comes up with on this very well-themed attraction. Because of this coaster's design, I doubt they can make it too crazy or too intense, so it'll probably be a family-friendly experience. But if the visuals are as good as I think they could be, that can easily make up for it. We don't have any official stats for this one or the one coming to Epic Universe just yet, but I think it's going to be a phenomenal experience, and so because of all that, I'm going to place this in B tier. Now, again, there's only one coaster edition, so I can only rank it so high, but I think it could be a really cool one. On to United Parks, formerly SeaWorld Entertainment. Their two additions this year are a little bit on the odd side. Phoenix Rising is a B&M family inverted coaster, which this isn't the first time we've seen this. It's the third installation, but the first outside of China. This will be going to Busch Gardens Tampa and Florida, and if it's smooth and maybe even has a little bit of theming, I think it could be a nice family coaster addition. SeaWorld clearly has a good relationship with B&M because their other addition this year is also built by B&M. Penguin Trek for SeaWorld Orlando is going to be their first attempt at a family launch coaster. This ride will have 3,020 feet of track and a speed of 43 miles an hour. B&M is really starting to branch out, and this is an example of it, and SeaWorld is letting them try their hand at all these prototypes. I'm very interested to see how both of these ride, but on paper, they should be pretty good additions, in particular if they're smooth. With these things in mind, I can't put them any higher than C tier, especially with the uncertainty of Penguin Trek being a prototype. Last one is Parques Reunidos. Idlewild is receiving a Zamperla family gravity coaster, which is a kiddie coaster at best. Real Madrid World is kind of one of those situations where I'm trying to decide if I should count it as a new coaster edition or not. Specifically, Hala Madrid as a new coaster edition or not. In 2023, Bollywood Parks Dubai announced that the park would close permanently. Since then, however, it has been announced, and it has happened, that this park has reopened as Real Madrid World, themed to the famous soccer team or football team over in Europe. So Hala Madrid isn't really a new addition, so I'm not sure if I should include it or not, but since we've already talked about them, might as well put them in the tier list. Hala Madrid kinda has to carry the rest of Parques Reunidos, but because it's not technically a new ride, I'm not gonna put Parques Reunidos as high as maybe I would have been inclined to. I'm gonna put them at C tier. So as you can see, Cedar Fair topped out as the best chain in 2024 in my opinion, and I put them in S tier. But I'd love to hear from you. In your opinion, which theme park chain had the best coaster additions for the 2024 season? I'd love to have some more discussion on this topic as the theme park chains continue to try to get better in competition with one another. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.